Friends, brothers and sisters, welcome to Pathways of Hope, a daily reflection on the gospel and the hope that it brings to us in these times. My name is Ted, and I'll be sharing some insights on the gospel for today. Today is September 4, 2021. It's a Saturday, and the gospel reading for today is taken from the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 6, verses 1 to 5. The gospel reading for today will remind many lawyers, like myself, of what we have been taught in law school, that when the law is unclear, we go beyond what is written in the law and look into the spirit of the law, because it is the spirit that gives life. It may surprise or even shock lawyers to realize that that rule is actually found in scriptures. In 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 5 to 6, Paul tells us, "Our competence is from God, who has made us competent to be ministers of a new covenant, not in the written code, but in the Spirit. For the written code kills, but the Spirit gives life." In the gospel for today, was Jesus telling his disciples to disobey the law as written, which was to keep the Sabbath holy by not working? No, far from it. After all, that law is one that comes directly from God. It was one of the 10 commandments that God gave to Moses. But that law, over time, had become complicated and cumbersome because of man's interpretations, interventions, and even innovations. The original intent of the law had become obscured or even forgotten because it had now become too ritualistic and legalistic. Jesus wanted to bring back the focus of the Sabbath law to God's original intent, which was to rest in God. But because of the many restrictions, legalities that had been placed on the observance of the Sabbath, it had become, ironically, too much work. Jesus was telling them that the Sabbath is supposed to be a day of rest, but you've made it a day of working hard to keep the law. So Jesus was focusing the Pharisees and his disciples on the essence of keeping the Sabbath, resting in God. How do we rest in God? Obey the commandments, the 10 commandments, and also the 2. Love God, love your neighbor. Place our trust and our hope in Him. Don't work too hard to control our future. Leave it to God, who holds our future in His hands. It shouldn't be too difficult to obey God and follow His commandments. We are reminded in 1 John chapter 5, verse 3, "For this is the love of God, that we keep His commandments, and His commandments are not burdensome." In the end, remembering and keeping the Sabbath is about remembering who is Lord of the Sabbath, and it is God. Let us pray today for the grace to be able to truly rest in God, to place our trust and hope in Him, to give up control over our plans and our lives, and to give them to our God, who is firmly in control. If you have been made more hopeful by this short commentary, please spread that hope by sharing this with your friends. Again, this has been Pathways of Hope. Thank you for listening. God bless us all.